As the premise of the project dwells on the establishment of mutual relations between human, animal, and artificial intelligence, my artistic research stems from a fascination over the relationship between humans and dogs. Scientifically confirmed facts prove that life with a dog contributed to one of the selective pressures for the genetic polymorphism of the gene code SLC6A4 in humans, which regulates the serotonin transporter. Besides being recognized as the biological marker of behavior processes, serotonin and serotonin transporter have been found to modulate several other brain and body processes which coincide with various forms of bodily activity. So, the historical reality of a dog as the fellow carrier of this bioindication has been therefore constituted through the human body. I therefore find canine subjectivity strongly established in this evolutional historicity of the dog. But what about the status of artificial intelligence? The philosopher Oksana Timofeeva claims that humans try to overcome the abyss which opened with the end of the classical human figure in the 20th century through the use of technology, which has been, I would add, manifested especially through the field of artificial intelligence. Machine learning utilizes hierarchical constructions that find its origins in the beginning of Western philosophical thinking that in its very essence dwells on the nature-culture division. It seems like artificial intelligence is a mirror of our own subjectivity, some kind of a projection of our desire to process ever-increasing amounts of data through which we attempt to preserve a certain order of things, especially in these times of uncertainty. Even though artificial intelligence lacks subjectivity, it is a very powerful tool. And I'm using that tool to utilize and augment my vision of physiological hybridity with the non-human. And although it seems that with data science we are facing a new sovereignty of truth that has nothing to do with bodies, I think it is precisely this condition that should evoke biopolitics to address the handling of cybernetic control to life itself. And as a point of search for new ways of articulating the future, I am, through the project Non-Brute Force, suggesting a discourse on AI for being employed as a tool of unification instead of being utilized as corporation-owned tool of division and control. The installation resembles an orthogonally abstracted serotonin molecule-shaped grid. As mentioned previously, the process of breathing and heartbeat are also influenced by the effects of serotonin, the human neurotransmitter whose metabolic functions have been highly influenced by the parallel evolution with dogs. The grid serves us as a platform for feeding our algorithm. So, during one iteration, the dog and I climbed through this shape composed of plates and empty spaces. Throughout my climb, I built new combinations of 32 plates and 37 empty spaces as inputs for the neural network, and at the same time as stairs for the dog to follow. So, what I actually do from the perspective of our convolutional neural network is composing pixels in the form of plates on the recommendation of the network's output based on the parameters of physiology of me and the dog. And while the dog and I invest our bodily forces, it is to the dog's physiological rhythm that I am made to adapt through this whole action.
In this project, dogs are using a very specific range of motion, and we have been preparing them for it on a daily basis. There is a lot of jumping, a lot of starting and stopping on a very limited amount of space, So the dogs had to build up their core muscles and their overall body strength. So we're doing this dog fitness or dog workouts on a daily basis to help them strengthen up. For the trainers, it has been a very interesting thing to observe different individual personalities of the dogs. Some of them were a bit afraid of heights, and we had to adjust the training to make them feel safe. Some of them were too goofy, and we had to calm them down a little bit. But through the process, we achieved actually everything for the dogs to be safe and to be controlled and to enjoy. And lastly, we had to train Maja how to train the dogs because they were not all of them are her dogs. So she had to become the lead trainer for the dogs, and she did a really great job. So all the dogs listened to her as if they were her own dogs.
Петь. Коя. Tu. Makar bez byl nazad. Tako. To stop.
Dile.
Faseado. To mi izgublja krimpe.
In zdaj, zamisli, da se ti recimo končala, on pa bo, mislim, da bo, glede na to, da je že 13 pa 19, da bo še poslal za teh preostalih 6 minut enkrat in jih bo na filo. The problem to solve in this project was to find a plan for a 3D space layout that once walked through by the dog and the human would influence their heartbeats in such a way that they would be as similar as possible. This layout is composed of 5 floors, each having around 15 movable tiles that can be randomly arranged, offering the dog and the human different path possibilities to walk on. As such, these tiles somehow resemble an image data, and for image data classification, one of the best machine learning techniques are so-called convolutional neural networks, or CNN. For initial training and evaluating the CNN model, we indeed used image data, where we placed tiles in the shape of numbers that the CNN had to recognize. It did that job very well, so we continue using the same model on this more abstract problem of heartbeat delta adjustment. During real iterations by the dog and the human, we had to store this data in our cloud that we developed for this project. And what was saved was the data from biometric devices and the layout of the space. This data was then further classified into 5 classes based on how big the delta was between the human and the dog heartbeat. For example, smallest delta from 0 to 5 ppm was classified as class 0. Our model was then trained with the shape of 3D layout as the input data and the heartbeat delta class as the output data. After every iteration, new data is collected and a new layout is generated by a generator. Generator is randomly generating layouts and evaluating them with the CNN, which is trying to guess which layout will be the one that will yield the smallest heartbeat delta between human and a dog. That is to be class 0. The first layout that matches class 0 is thus accepted and used for the next iteration. This collaboration between the generator generating layout proposals and CNN evaluating the best suitable proposal we called Generative Intercollaborative Network. Our name is inspired, of course, by the GAN algorithm, which stands for Generative Adversarial Networks. The entire system and the flow of experiments is visualized in the web-based application, which allows the observer to observe the real-time biometric data, the data stored in the cloud, the classification and the process of generation of new layouts. For the conductor of the tests, this web app has additional controls to start new iterations and to generate layouts. The web application is accompanied by smartphone apps to collect the data and by a layout plan visualizer that the human wears to construct a 3D space based on the generator. This is the tech approach used on this project in short.
By using wearables as necessary tools to translate our physiology data to the cloud, I consequently also started focusing on the future of market-driven diagnostic wearables connected to AI. Wearable technology that always exists in close tension with identity, intimacy, privacy has been very much accelerated in the light of the COVID-19 pandemic. So, since taken to the broader public, it has created new opportunities for the market to combine with healthcare system. So in the near future, it is going to enable better personal monitoring of population health on a grand scale. The future of health augmentation therefore opens questions such as how will standardization in health communication protocols be put into place, who will make those decisions, who will own our health data, and who will have access to it. So, in non-brute force project, we are subverting the copyright of wearables through a small body hack. Since data gathered from the dog's body gets routinely processed within the Apple cloud and therefore presents a disruption of the corporate statistics of human health. Our own cloud, on the other hand, as a parallel open archive of gathering all this data, becomes an artistic intervention in the digital public sphere.